Right. So I'm writing a book about Venice, and when I got out of graduate school, just after that, Katrina hit, and Venice became this site of additional disgust for me, I guess, in terms of the way that we fetishize its disappearance. So I was thinking about New Orleans and this other place, this jewel of disappearance, this site that we go to understand what passes away, and the incredible irony of all of the charitable organizations that have arisen around that place that are always about preserving monuments and not the population of that place. So recently there was a funeral for the population of Venice held because the civic decisions are so incompatible with the needs of a viable populace. So it's an example, a really interesting example of place becoming something so sublime and other to itself that we fetishize these places so much that they become a sort of shadow of themselves.
And we're not willing to deal with take on displacement and the other things that are the sort of necessary component. And the idea that a place becomes like, I was in Las Vegas for the first time, and I thought, oh, I love Las Vegas, but scary. Which isn't fair. There are a lot of people from Las Vegas, and it's not so scary. But there's something about it's too easy to say Disneyfication, but I think that Césaire pegs it when he says that colonization is thingification. And so there's some way in which we thingify the place and don't imagine places as, in fact, migratory, always in transformation, and that we have to, in some way, begin to not embrace, but deal with displacement, not so that we go, oh, woe is me, but so that we contend with the real complexity of what it is to experience a place, to be a living being in a place. I often think that one of the things that haunts me in The Heartman is when she talks about the only evidence of the slave having lived was the body of the slave, which is very kind of Orlando Patterson-y. But I think that she's getting at something that's in some ways about our not being willing to contend with what we don't quite understand, with what's messy, stinky, uncomfortable, not nice. That we want to find a way, whether it's to find a cause and effect explanation, like not that you care, but my favorite book of the Bible is Job. And part of it is, one, my hyper drama tendencies when I was a kid, so I'd sing Nobody Knows the Trouble I've Seen for no apparent reason. But because in Job there is a rejection of suffering as being related to an easy cause and effect. And in fact, the divine is implicated in the horrible things that happened to Job. And so the notion that reason will protect us is really pushed aside. And there's something in that I think we have a tendency for, like, I love Pat Robertson. They made a deal with the devil. I kind of wanted to make T-shirts that said, all those devil people, raise your hands. In part because there are, tons of people that you could argue. You sort of try and come up with some justification that really doesn't look at the structures in place and the chaotic nature of being alive, but there are structures in place to ensure that certain bodies and locations suffer more, or, a lot.
Yeah. So it seems like part of the point of the poem is to make a place for that mess and to honor it, and at the same time to sort of expose the infrastructure of that mess and the enormity of it and its relationship to the sort of core mechanisms that make these societies run.